Hello everyone, welcome to biology class. We have been discussing the chapter number 1, transport of food and minerals in plants. The topics we have already covered are transport system in plants, then we have seen absorption, conduction, and now we will be discussing about transpiration and importance of minerals in plant. The last two topics are left that we will complete today. After these topics, we will be having a discussion, a review of the question answers, and at the end of the video is a revision test paper for you to solve. Let us begin. Here we have the topic for the day, transpiration. So generally what is actually happening in the plants are absorbing water from the roots, and this water is moving upwards into the plant body through the stem. It distributes to the different parts of the plant. Now the leaves are doing what? These leaves are having tiny pores. These are called stomata, and from this stomata water is regularly released outside in the form of water vapor, and this process is called as transpiration. Let us read the definition given. The process of loss of water in the form of water vapor through the leaves and other aerial parts of the plant is called as transpiration, and this transpiration is happening through the stomata. The stomata, when they open for the gaseous exchange, plants are having stomata, and these stomata are regularly doing the gaseous exchange. The gases are exchanged. Which are those? CO2 gas, carbon dioxide gas is absorbed by the plants, and oxygen gas is released. In this process, the stomata are opening and closing, and when this process is going on, as the stomata open up, at that same time some water vapor is also released outside the plant body, and that is what is called as transpiration. Now we have a question. Now, is there a relationship between absorption and transpiration? Absorption is what? Absorption is done by the roots. The water is absorbed by the roots which are present in the soil, and transpiration is done by the leaves are releasing the water outside in the form of water vapor into the air. That is transpiration. So is there a relation between the two? That is, the answer is given in the first line here. Yes, there is a direct relationship between absorption and transpiration of water. What is that relation? That is, if more water is lost through transpiration, then more water will be absorbed. So if more water is moving out of the plant body, then plant is needing some water also. That water has lost from the leaves, so then what the plant will do? Plant will absorb more water from the soil. On the contrary, what we can say, if less water is released from the plant, then less water will be absorbed. So like this, the relationship is there, and it is called a direct relationship. And because the water is regularly moving out from the leaves, what will happen? A kind of a special force will develop in the plant body. A kind of force will develop that is called as transpiration pull. That means the different parts of the plant body will force the xylem tissue. Xylem tissue are the ones which are carrying the water. So the different parts of the plant, the leaves will create a kind of transpiration pull. This is a force that will develop in the plant body, or a pressure that will develop there, because of which what will happen? The water will start moving upwards. From where the water will start moving upward? Water will move from the roots to the stem. The xylem tissue will start taking the water from the roots to the stem. The roots will absorb the water from where? The roots are absorbed from the surrounding soil. Whatever soil is near that plant area, from those soil particles water is absorbed and it moves upwards, and this is how the transpiration pull leads to the movement of water in the plant body. This is the upward movement of water that is going on in the plant body, and then we can see the cycle of flowing water in the plant continues. Let us zoom in here. The diagram, you can see it here. So the water is absorbed by the roots, then transpiration pull is there. Transpiration pull is doing what? It is pulling the water upwards to the aerial part, or to the leaves and branches of the plant or the tree. And then when the water reaches there, in the leaves, in different leaves, the water has reached there. Whatever amount of water is required, it will be used. Generally it is used in the process of photosynthesis. The major use of water is for preparing food in the photosynthesis. Remaining water, whatever is not needed now, that will be released outside. That is extra water only. It is not required now. So that water cannot send back, the plant will not send back the water to the soil. It is not possible. So what this extra water will be doing there? So this extra water is actually released outside into the air in the form of water vapor. That is what is called as transpiration. So transpiration and absorption both have a direct relationship that we have learned. Let us now have a look at the different factors that are affecting transpiration. We have learned what is transpiration: the loss of extra water by the aerial part of the plant. We have learned that there is a direct relationship between absorption of water and transpiration of water. Now we will also learn what are the factors. So these are the main factors which are given here. First is the temperature of the surroundings, next is relative humidity, next is wind of the area of the region, then the light availability and available soil water where that plant is growing, how much water is available in that soil. These are the 5 major factors. Many more are there, but these 5 are the major factors which are affecting the rate of transpiration. Rate of transpiration, in simple word, the speed or the transpiration is fast or slow. That will depend on these main factors. Let us have a look on them one by one. In detail we will see. First is temperature. So the first line itself tells that as the temperature increases, the transpiration also increases. The rate of transpiration is increases. So if there is a high temperature, then that is summer season, then in the summer season the transpiration rate is also more. That is, we can say in other words, we can say the plant will need more water because water loss is taking place more fastly because of high temperature. So in the second line you can read, on hot days water evaporates more quickly from the leaves than on a cold day. Second factor is relative humidity, that is the amount of moisture that is present in the air. How much moisture is there? Let us read here. As the relative humidity of the air surrounding the plant rises, if more water vapor is available, already more water vapor is there in the air, then the transpiration will reduce. So relative humidity, if it is more relative humidity is there, then the rate of transpiration, the speed of transpiration will be less. More relative humidity means less transpiration, and opposite we can say less relative humidity, more transpiration. So what is generally we can say more water vapor in the air is when it is raining, in the rainy season. In the rainy season more humidity is there, and that time what is there, the transpiration rate is very less. On the contrary, in the summer season the air is dry. That time humidity is almost nil or very less. So that time what is happening, that the transpiration is very high. So that is what we can say. The point is given, the loss of water and transpiration by transpiration is very little in rain. So that is the concept or the principle or the rule. We can learn this: the higher the humidity, the lower is the rate of transpiration. Let us come to the next one, that is wind. How much wind is blowing, how fastly or how slowly the wind is blowing. Let us move here to this topic. If there is no wind, then the moisture laden air around the leaf may not move away. If wind is blowing, that, for example, we have a plant, it is having a leaf, and if wind is coming and blowing air, then the wind molecules, the air molecules will absorb some moisture from that leaf particle. Some amount of water vapor will be absorbed by the wind. But if wind is not moving, wind is not blowing, then no moisture will be absorbed by that wind. So that is what they want to say. So if wind is blowing fastly, if a strong wind is there, then it will take the moist or the water vapor more quickly. Otherwise, if a strong wind is not there, then it will not be possible. So in simple word, what we can say, if there is a strong wind, if fastly blowing wind is there, then the rate of transpiration is what? The transpiration rate is also very high. There is high transpiration. On the other side, if wind is not blowing or wind is blowing slowly, then the rate of transpiration also reduces, it falls down. Let us come to the next one, that is the availability of light. In simple word, you can say sunlight. So sunlight is also responsible for photosynthesis, and in photosynthesis what is happening, the food is prepared, and that time stomata is doing its work. In the topic, in the definition, I have told you that stomata are opening and closing in the leaves, and during that time only transpiration is happening. So if the stomata are opening and closing very fastly, if they are opening very rapidly, that means more amount of water will be lost. So here let us have a look. In the daytime the rate of transpiration is high because sunlight is available, stomata is regularly opening and closing, so photosynthesis is going. Photosynthesis happens in sunlight only, so in daytime only it will happen. So in daytime the transpiration rate is also high because the stomata is working. But in the night time, that it is light, the natural light is not available. So in that time the stomata are almost closed and the rate of transpiration is zero, almost zero, because no water loss is taking place due to the stomata being closed. The stomata are closed in night, rate of transpiration is zero there. In the daytime the stomata are working, so the transpiration also is going on. So light affects the rate of transpiration. If more sunlight is there, that we can say in the summer season, bright sunlight is there, that time the rate of transpiration is very high. In the winter season, sunlight is little bit dim compared to the summer season, so that time the transpiration rate will also be less. Let us come to the last one, that is available soil water. How much water is available in the soil where that particular plant or tree is growing, that will affect the rate of transpiration. Let us have a reading here. The available soil water produces indirect effect on the rate of transpiration, because deficiency or lack of water supply causes the soil to become more concentrated, means soil is not having enough water, then it will affect the rate of transpiration. So there is less tendency for water to enter by osmosis. By the process of osmosis, water is entering in the plant body, it is carrying the minerals and entering the plant body, that we have done in the earlier part of the chapter. But if water is not available in sufficient quantity, then that rate of osmosis will fall down. Water cannot enter the plant easily, and then it will affect the rate of transpiration also, because if water is not absorbed by the root, then transpiration also will fall down. Just now we have seen, if absorption is less, then transpiration is also less. Let us read the last statement. This point will read, if there is less uptake of water, or we can say less absorption of water by the root, the guard cell, that is the stomata, they become flaccid, means they are lacking water then, and then as a result of lack of water, they will close down and the transpiration is reduced. So if water is not being absorbed properly, the guard cells, these guard cells are surrounding the stomata, all around the stomata the guard cells are there, and these guard cells are doing what? These are regulating the opening and closing of stomata. So if water is not there, these cells will close the stomata, and then if stomata is closed, then water vapor cannot move outside the leaf. So that is what we can say, rate of transpiration falls down. That is all. We have seen the main points. The next topic now is, what is the importance, why the transpiration is so important. These are the main functions or main significance of transpiration. The first one is cooling effect. So because of the transpiration in hot summers, in the summer season, because the plants are releasing irregularly water vapor, so generally in summer season, what we are doing, if we go near a plant or near a tree, generally if we sit below a tree, we feel very much relaxed. Why is it so? Because there is transpiration is happening from the leaves, water vapor is being produced outside. So just nearby the tree, you will feel very much cool atmosphere. Below the tree, you sit down on a sunny day, outside you will feel very cold without a tree, but under the shadow of a tree, suddenly you feel a temperature difference is there. Why is it so? That is because of transpiration is going on. The leaves of that tree are releasing water vapor. As a result of that water vapor, the air that is present in that below that tree, it has become cool. So that is cooling effect is given. Let us read here. As a result of transpiration in hot summers, plants cool themselves as a considerable amount of latent heat is lost to convert the vapor into water into vapor. The internal cooling also there of the plant, and the surroundings are also becoming cool. The next one now, intake of minerals. That is second significance of transpiration. The greater the transpiration, the greater is the rate of absorption of water, that we have just now seen. More transpiration, more absorption. And if more water is absorbed from the soil, along with the water, what is coming? Along with the water, minerals are absorbed. So that is the second benefit. Transpiration pull is creating a force on the roots to absorb the water. Leaves don't need the minerals for that purpose of transpiration, but because water is being absorbed, along with water, minerals are also coming. So that is the second benefit of transpiration, that is, minerals are regularly available to the plant body because of the water absorption. The third point will read, elimination of excess water. Elimination means removal of excess or extra water. So whatever extra water is there, that is regularly thrown out. Thrown out means it is evaporated in the form of transpiration. Let us read here, only 1% of the total water, whatever water the plant is absorbing from the soil, of that total 1% only is used for photosynthesis. Remaining all is useless for the plant body, and therefore it is regularly removed by the process of transpiration. That is the main importance of transpiration in plants. Let us have a look on the next topic, that is, we will read now about the minerals. Why are the minerals important? That we will read now, and then we will do a classification and or classification of minerals, we will read about the different functions of different types of minerals. Let us read about the importance first. Why the minerals are so important? Why these minerals are being absorbed along with the water? So first one point we'll read, the plants are needing minerals for what? For the growth and development. Growth and development of plants is done by the minerals only, and because the growth and development is being done, they are called as plant nutrients. Our body needs some nutrients. Similarly, plants have their own nutrients that are what? They are actually the minerals which are absorbed along with the water. So simply we can say plants cannot grow without the minerals. These are some of the minerals which are also available from the air. Plant can absorb, like from the carbon dioxide gas, it can be absorbed, carbon and oxygen can come. So like this, there are certain minerals which can be absorbed from air as well as water both, but majority of the minerals are available in the soil. Majority of the minerals are coming in soil. Only few minerals are there which are coming from the air or water, which are present in water. Carbon and oxygen are present in air, that is in the form of CO2 gas. The second one we can say hydrogen and oxygen, again they are available in the form of H2O, that is the water that we are giving. So these minerals, carbon, oxygen and hydrogen, are provided to the plant in through the form of air and water. The remaining other minerals like nitrogen, phosphorus, zinc, copper, iron, all these minerals are present as ions or salt. They are available in the soil only. The plants are absorbing these minerals from the soil. Let us read now about these types of plant nutrients. So based on the quantity, how much mineral is required, how much quantity of mineral is required, we will classify them into two categories. One is called as macronutrients, second is called as micronutrients. Macronutrients are required in large quantities, whereas micronutrients are required in small quantities, or we can say less quantities. The examples, few examples only are given. First is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. These are all needed in higher proportion or more quantity they are required, therefore they are called macronutrients. Other examples are iron, magnesium and zinc. They are micronutrients. Let us now come to the deficiency disorders. What will happen if there is a lack of one of these minerals or a combination of these minerals is not available? Then they will cause some deficiency diseases. Like in human beings we have certain deficiency diseases of different kinds of nutrients. Similarly in plants also they are having deficiency disorders that we will now learn about them. Let us have a look on this table. These tables are given in the textbook and you have to learn these tables. All these are very important. The functions as well as the deficiency diseases, all you have to learn. Let us have a look at this table now. We will read the functions and the deficiency disease of related to the different minerals. First is nitrogen. These are all macronutrients, NPK. So first one is nitrogen, N. That is, what is the function is? It is helping in the constitution, means formation of proteins, chlorophyll and protoplasm. They are forming these molecules. The deficiency is called, the symptom is given there, the yellowing of leaves. The leaves will become yellow. You can relate this to chlorophyll. Chlorophyll pigment is green in color, and if the chlorophyll is not formed because of the lack of nitrogen, then it will lead to yellowing of leaves because chlorophyll is not there in that plant. The next one is phosphorus. Phosphorus is doing what? It is helping in the growth of roots and formation of cell membrane. Cell membrane is the outer layer of the cells. It surrounds the cell. So it is formed by phosphorus, and the roots are also growing because of phosphorus mineral. The deficiency disease you can read there. It is late flowering. Flowering season will be delayed. And next is premature leaf fall. Leaves will fall down before the season arrives. That is premature leaf fall. Next is potassium. That is symbol is K. It helps in photosynthesis, or indirectly you can say it helps in the preparation of food. Next, it also helps in the opening and closing of stomata. That is also related to photosynthesis only. The deficiency disease now, it stops the formation of starch and stem becomes slender. Slender means soft, and the leaves wither away. Wither means fall down. The leaves will fall down, stem will become very weak because of the lack of potassium mineral in the plant body. So that is, we can say indirectly what is happening here is, because photosynthesis cannot take place, stomata cannot work properly, as a result plant will fall down as a result of that. That is what is happening due to the lack of potassium mineral. Next is calcium mineral now. Calcium also regulates or helps in the opening and closing of stomata, and it participate in other nutrient intake. Other words, you can say it is helping in the absorption of minerals. Deficiency disease is given. Curling of young leaves means the young leaves will curl. They will curl. The next is stunt growth, means the growth will retard, means growth will not take place properly, the plant growth will stop. The damaged fruits, these are all deficiency diseases of the deficiency of calcium. Next we will read about these micronutrients. These are needed in less quantity, still they are important. First is iron. Iron is helping in the formation of chlorophyll pigment, and it also helps in the respiration of plants. Deficiency disease is given, it is related to chlorophyll only. If chlorophyll is not formed due to the lack of iron, then what will happen? The leaves will turn into pale green, we can say light green, and they can also turn into yellowish color. Next is magnesium. Magnesium is very important in photosynthesis and respiration of plant, more or less similar to iron only. The deficiency also, disease also is similar, yellowing of leaves with stunted growth. Stunted, again word is coming, stunted means retarded, slow growth of the plant. Next is zinc, that symbol is given Zn. It helps in the protein synthesis. Nitrogen also we saw the same thing. Here also the deficiency diseases, yellow leaves and stunted growth. These are all the functions in the deficiency diseases related to different nutrients or the minerals. That is all for this class. We have discussed all the topics relevant to this chapter. We will now move on to the question answers and the exercise part.